Our final big three is number 6, Oregon at Iowa. The Ducks are favored by 6.5 inside Kinnick. You've got Puddles, you've got Herky, you've got the Kinnick wave. It's a bunch of Big Ten storylines in this one. Let's start here, though, because you have been our resident Oregon supporter. I'd like a temperature check on Oregon from you. Currently, they don't really have a quality win on their record. Obviously, when they played Penn State, it was a big win, but that win has aged very poorly. And the last time that we saw them, they only beat Wisconsin, who's absolutely hapless, 21-7 on their own field before going into a bye. So maybe not the most confidence that Oregon could be bringing into this game in a tough road environment. Where's your confidence in the Ducks?
I still think that Oregon's a very good football team, and I do think that, end of the day, I think they'll probably win this game. If you peek down the sheet a little bit, I do actually have Iowa covering this 6.5, and it's not because I'm a massive Iowa believer. In fact, if you were to look at this game and assume that I'm picking it without actually reading any of my notes, you probably think I got Oregon huge because I've been notorious Iowa disrespecter this year with the lack of ability to throw the football, and I've been pretty big on the Ducks. But man, like Oregon just has not been giving me reasons to believe in them recently. You look at the Northwestern game earlier in the season, and I thought they played better than what the final score kind of looked like, but they didn't really pull away in that one until late.
Mm-hmm.
They let Penn State get back into the game that they ultimately won, but we now see that maybe that Penn State team wasn't very good. They got beat by Indiana, where they struggled heavily, and then they did struggle with Wisconsin. They just don't really seem to have that killer instinct, right? Like that's something that I feel like we've seen out of Oregon the last several years is, with Dan Lanning coming in, we've seen, some of the clips from the locker room speeches, and obviously, Colorado last year kind of was the big moment where they come out there and they just punch them in the teeth and knock out a couple of them and send them crying back home. That was an insane performance to just step on their throats. But I just don't see that out of this Oregon team. I don't see them doing that. On the flip side of that, Iowa only has 2 losses by a combined 8 points,
Mm-hmm.
both losses to very good teams. And they seem to find ways to just kind of like muddy it up, not get beat by the team that's more talented that badly, right? Even with the Penn State game, I think you could probably argue Penn State was more talented than Iowa, but they found a way to kind of muddy up the game and find their way through with a win. I think this one, plus the home field advantage, Hawkeye fans show up for, they're going to keep it close. I think Oregon probably wins this one with the last second field goal, right? Probably a tie game, need a drive, come up with 1 or 2 big plays down the stretch, a couple big completions, because I still do believe in this Oregon team. I think they're a really good team. Just don't think they have that killer instinct. So even if I could even see it being a situation where they're up 10 and then they let Iowa kind of scoot back into this game a little bit and make it too close for comfort. I just don't see the path for Oregon winning this game huge.
Well, and see, that's the thing. Like, I agree wholeheartedly, but I don't need him to win huge, right? I just need him to win by 7 points, and
Fair.
that's where I sat on this game for a long time because listeners of this show will remember in our Big Ten preview series, I said that I was winning this game all the way back in the summer. I called my shot. I said off a bye, I like the Hawks to beat the Ducks in Kinnick Stadium, and so I'm not like totally backing off of that. I still am kind of rooting for that outcome because I think Iowa is just patently a fun football team with their Big Ten style of play. But my football brain cannot understand or convince myself to take Iowa plus the 6.5 because I frankly don't know how they're going to score against this Oregon defense. Oregon's a top 30 defense in preventing the run. Their linebackers are incredibly athletic. And you know that Mark Gronowski is not going to beat you with his arm, right? He's one of the most prolific rushers of the football from the quarterback position. I think Oregon's got the horses to be able to stop that, right? And in the past, when we've seen Iowa take on Ohio States, the Penn States, sometimes these are the games that they just kind of fall apart, right? The offense gets off to a sluggish start. Suddenly they're down 14-0, and you kind of know that's wraps. Now, they did beat Penn State at home. It's probably not a very good Penn State team based on the product that we're seeing on the field, but to your point, the talent was there. So maybe has Iowa turned a corner? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what to expect from this Iowa team in a big spot. The last time I picked against the Hawks was in the game against Minnesota, the Floyd of Rosedale. Obviously, that went tremendously poor for my financial interests when they just blew out the Gophers. I think it was what, 41-3 was the
Yeah,
final score there.
41-3 or 7. Yeah, there was something
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, it wasn't even close. And I started that pick by asking, how on earth is Oregon covering the spread? So I feel like I'm kind of getting myself ready for part 2 here, but I guess if you made me make a pick for the sake of this segment, I'll take Oregon minus the 6.5, just because my football brain cannot wrap its head around Oregon not winning this game by 7. Right? That's all. I've just got to win by a touchdown. I think if Oregon is legit, if Oregon is for real, they should be able to do that.
Yeah,
If not, congrats, Hawks.
well, and Oregon is a good enough team to be able to do that. They're a good enough
Right?
team that they should be able to. Right now, I just kind of am wondering where that fire is going. And I think it'll be hard to grab that on the road, right? I think that's where,
Mm,
if you're an Iowa fan, you can kind of hang your hat on, okay, they're going to have to run a little bit, right? We can maybe get real physical with them, keep them in some longer down and distances, force, more to make some throws. And if he does, great, good for Oregon. And I think, as Iowa fans, you probably expect that that could be the case. But also, again, flip side is just, hey, what if they just keep, keeping them off the field and they don't really let the field position get weird and, maybe set themselves up with a couple of shorter fields. Like that could be good for them. Now,
yeah.
it's counterintuitive because again, like this is not what I've been arguing for. I've been arguing for Iowa can't do offense. They just can't. And then somehow, I'm gonna bet against Oregon with a really good defense who plays physical. It again, it seems counterintuitive to where I normally logic, but it just feels like a thing where, and maybe this is where we both are. Oregon was kind of my little pet team in the Big Ten. Iowa seems like they were kind of your team, and they both kind of been a little disappointing. So I think both of us are kind of backing off it a little bit and being like, yeah, I don't know if I really want to back you right now because
Right.
you let me down a couple of times.
Yeah, man, the Iowa offense just has not been what I was promised, and certainly peddled myself. I was part of the propaganda machine. I've apologized for that. So I don't know. I will watch with interest. I will not, in my locks of the week that I do over on Twitter, I certainly will not be touching this game. Like I said, I'm even hesitant to make an official pick for this, but that's the job. So right
Now,
in.
question
Oh
though,
yeah.
are you just doing the meta thing where you don't believe in Iowa because you think when you don't believe in them, then they turn it around and surprise you? Like, is this
Well,
one of those you totally redeem yourselves moments?
listen, that if the emotional hedge pays off, then awesome. I win either way. I'll put it that way. Certainly rooting for Iowa to win this game. I think that would be a really fun story and would just throw another tremendous wrinkle into this playoff picture. But
Yeah, why
anyway,
not, right?
exactly. So those are our big three. Again, we'd love to know your opinion at 3techpod. You can write in. You can email us as well, 3techpod@gmail.com.